London is just 25% British. That means that 3 out of 4 people are not self-defining as white British, according to the Office for National Statistics. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Lawrence Fox put out a tweet with a load of statistics on it. Some of them are accurate, but actually, in reality, some of the real statistics are even worse than what he's been talking about, and indeed what the so-called far-right extremists have been talking about. I'm going to tell you all about the way London has changed and the fact that it is now absolutely a foreign land. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Andre Walker. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, please do donate to the Patriot Fund. The link is below, and we support patriotic causes right across the country. I was about to say right across the world, but that would be a lie. Okay, so let's talk about these statistics a little bit. Okay, so I talked initially about 25% being the City of London. Now, to be fair, I will say something. Perhaps you're going to accuse me of having a clickbaity title, because the City of London does contain a huge number of other white Europeans, people working in banks. And of course, we all know that the actual population of the City of London is relatively small. I ran for election in Portsoken, which is just near Aldgate East train station, a few years ago, didn't win. But that's got a fairly large population, as is the Barbican. But places like Coleman Street, which is where Dick Whittington was famously the alderman, they've only got a residential population of 4. So, okay, so you can say to me the City of London doesn't necessarily count. But then I'm going to tell you that, in fact, the City of London is by far and away there's nowhere near the worst place within London, Greater London, that is. Because when I look down this list, I think the lowest scoring area is actually Newham, where just 15% of people are white British. And if I look at the statistic from 1961, which is before the Windrush, for Newham, you've got a figure of 96.6. In fact, all of the boroughs of London had figures way, well, over 95%. And in fact, actually now, even boroughs like Havering, which is that bit of Essex which remains very, very patriotic, even Romford and Dagenham and places like that have only, well, Romford rather, only has 70% British people there. What has happened to our country? Well, the reality is we have had a project to make our country a foreign land. The number of people that have left central London is absolutely unbelievable. But what is crazy about this is the way that you and I have voted against it time and time again. There has never been an opinion poll that has been pro-immigration. There has never been a government elected on a ticket of uncontrolled immigration. There has never been, in fact, a major political party that has gone to the ballot box saying that if they're elected, they will make your hometown feel like a foreign country. If you go to Nelson in Lancashire, by far and away the majority of people there are Pakistani Muslim. And actually, the problem here is this. I remember somebody once saying to me that when they were a little boy, they didn't realize that vanilla was an actual flavor of ice cream. And the reason is because it's so ubiquitous. People forget. They think that it's always vanilla and strawberry or vanilla and raspberry. But actually, vanilla is the most popular ice cream flavour in the world. And that's the same, I imagine, with British culture. Because British culture is so popular across the world, because that idea of free trade, liberty and capitalism and property rights and free speech, because people believe that to be the natural state of humanity, they don't think of it as a culture in of itself, and therefore they don't value it. Well, I will tell you, the majority of the world lives under dictatorship. The majority of prime ministers and presidents of countries have the right to take your property. The majority of people can be subject to arbitrary arrest. The majority of people are not allowed to have free speech. And so if we don't value the culture of this country, then we will at one point or another lose it. But I'll go even further than that. If we lose it, then what happens to the world? Well, of course, what happens is that the other side win. And that's what the Jeremy Corbyn and Jezbollah brigade want to do. They believe in equal but different. They believe that a country run by, say, Hamas would be a country that would be valid. They believe that President Xi of China is even better than Donald Trump. They think President Xi of China for locking up 2.5 Uyghur Muslims is bad, but Donald Trump for being slightly racist in some of his language, and whether he is or he isn't is up for debate, is even worse than that. I look at London now and I get even more frustrated with what Westminster City Council say. Now, just to explain, earlier on, I talked about the City of London. Obviously, the City of London is a slightly strangely administered area. It's not a separate country, by the way. Those conspiracy theories are not correct. But then there's another city next door within Greater London, and that is Westminster. Westminster recently went Labour. Very simple reason for that, by the way, is because all the social housing going in is being given to new migrants. And in fact, I'll get the figures for Westminster in a second. But what they said was they wanted ethnic minority advisors, and they described them as the global majority advisors, right? So they didn't want to say, we want advisors on minority rights, because minorities include white people nowadays. Because get this, Westminster, the home of the British state, the home of Buckingham Palace, the home of the Palace of Westminster, the Houses of Parliament, which of course is the same thing, Middlesex Guildhall, the Supreme Court. Guess what's that, Scott? 29.8% British. 29.8% British. Absolutely appalling. Tower Hamlets, 24% British. Tower Hamlets is where Canary Wharf is. Can you imagine looking at that? The City of London, 25% British. Canary Wharf, 25% British. And Westminster, 30% British. There's going to have to be a day of reckoning. Now, I'm going to say this. I think the likelihood of throwing people out who have been brought to this country is incredibly low, but we can stop immigration. And I think also we can do some other things as well. We can say the war's over, it's time to go home. All of those refugees are now have to go back to their country of origin, unless they want to marry somebody in the UK, unless they want to get a work visa in the UK, which will allow them to remain here. So I'm not saying that we're throwing people out. I'm saying that once the war's over, that you seek refuge from, you don't need to seek refuge anymore. And of course, the other point to make is people who are seeking refuge for a war that doesn't exist, I think we need to throw them out as well. Anybody convicted of a crime needs to be thrown out. And I'll tell you what Gawain Towler said. And by the way, congratulations to Gawain and Darren. I don't know Dan, who got elected to the Reform Board earlier today, but he sounds like a good bloke. He's from Greater Manchester. But what Gawain Towler said on my show last night, which I thought was great, he said, what we have to say to people who come in on small boats is this. You will not be allowed leave to remain in the country, whatever your case is. No matter what the merit of your case, no matter where you fled from, no matter what the war is, if you enter the United Kingdom illegally, you will not be given the permanent right to remain in the United Kingdom. Because we've got to now start saying that we have a right to have our own homeland. We have a right to be British in the same way that Pakistan has a right to be Pakistani. By the way, I just want to say there was a video yesterday in which I said that we colonized Pakistan, and loads of Indian people have got in touch with me to say that Pakistan didn't exist until Britain decolonized in 1947. Okay, I get that. I meant the territory was colonised by Britain. And of course, other people have said that the colonisation was that we ruled the country or ruled the territory. We didn't move all of our people over there and make Lahore an English-speaking city. That is absolutely true. But this is modern colonisation and this is modern Pakistani imperialism. And it's something that has to stop. I just want to talk to you very quickly about the Patriot Fund and say thank you so much to all of you who have donated. We give you a monthly update on what we're getting up to. I mean, we stopped the Sussex police from bullying a person. We support the Women's Safety Initiative and various other things that are really, really important to protecting our freedom and our liberty. Until next time, goodbye.